Stand on the docks of Portus at dawn, and you'd witness something extraordinary. The horizon darkens not with storm clouds, but with sails, hundreds of them, massive grain ships returning from Egypt, their hulls riding low in the water under the weight of Rome's survival. The air thick with salt and the creak of timber, these vessels carried more than grain. They carried the very stability of civilization itself. For Rome, logistics wasn't an administrative afterthought. It was the invisible architecture holding together an empire that stretched from the Scottish highlands to the deserts of Mesopotamia. This is the story of how Romans mastered the art of moving mountains of wheat across treacherous seas, how they stored it against rot and theft, and how they transformed raw grain into daily bread for 1 million souls. This is Fieldcraft on an imperial scale, and its lessons echo into our modern world of supply chains and preparedness. Imagine yourself as a navicularius, a shipowner contracted to feed Rome. Your vessel, a massive grain freighter capable of carrying over 1,000 tons, dwarfs anything else on the Mediterranean. These weren't elegant warships, but floating warehouses, broad-beamed and sturdy, designed to survive the autumn storms that turned the sea into a graveyard. The journey from Alexandria to Portus stretched over 1,000 miles of open water, navigated without compass or chart, relying instead on intimate knowledge of winds, currents, and stars. Sailors read the color of water to judge depth, watched bird migrations to find land, and burned offerings to Neptune before each voyage because they understood something modern logistics often forgets. Nature remains the ultimate authority. These crews developed techniques that would astound modern mariners, estimating distance by counting rowing strokes, predicting weather by observing cloud formations over distant mountains, and repairing storm damage with nothing but the materials aboard. The Romans recognized that, controlling the sea lanes meant controlling the flow of calories, and calories meant power. When grain ships were delayed by weather or pirates, riots erupted in Rome's streets within just a few days. The emperor himself monitored fleet movements, fully understanding that his throne floated on a foundation of wheat. Once ships cleared the lighthouse at Portus, the grain faced a new enemy, time itself. Roman engineers constructed the horea, which were these massive state warehouses that really were marvels of practical design. Walk through Horia Galbana today in ruins, and you can still see the genius raised floors, allowing air circulation beneath stored grain, small windows positioned to create cross-ventilation while keeping out rain, and thick walls providing thermal mass to moderate temperature swings. The Romans understood what modern preppers know. Proper storage multiplies your resources. They rotated stock religiously, moving older grain to the front for immediate distribution while fresh shipments filled the rear. Workers used their hands to check grain temperatures, knowing that heat meant spoilage beginning. They mixed different grain types strategically, understanding that diversity in storage creates resilience against total loss. Guards patrolled constantly because grain wasn't just food. It was concentrated wealth and political power. A single warehouse held enough calories to feed tens of thousands for months. The Cura Annonae, the bureaucracy managing this system, maintained detailed records on clay tablets and papyrus, tracking inventory with an obsessiveness that would impress modern supply chain managers. They knew exactly how many days Rome could survive without resupply, and that number haunted every administrative decision. The final link in this chain was the most labor-intensive. Commercial bakeries operated around the clock in Rome, the rhythmic grinding of millstones providing a constant soundtrack to city life. These weren't quaint artisan shops, but industrial operations powered by donkeys or slaves, walking endless circles, turning massive stone wheels that crushed wheat into flour. The heat from wood-fired ovens radiated into streets, making bakeries gathering places in winter and unbearable furnaces in summer. Bakers stamped their loaves with identifying marks, an ancient form of quality control and branding that created accountability in the supply chain. The process required knowledge passed through generations: how to judge flour quality by feel, how to maintain sourdough starters across years, how to regulate oven temperature by sound and smell alone. This wasn't just cooking, it was applied chemistry and engineering, performed by craftsmen who understood that, well, consistency meant survival. When the grain dole distributed subsidized bread, it represented the culmination of a system spanning continents and requiring the coordination of farmers, sailors, warehouse managers, bakers, and of course bureaucrats. One broken link and hunger would stalk the streets. The Roman grain system teaches us that true resilience comes from understanding every link in your supply chain. They diversified sources across multiple provinces, knowing dependence on a single region invited catastrophe. They built redundancy into storage, maintaining reserves that could weather multiple harvest failures. They created public-private partnerships that aligned profit motive with state security. Most importantly, they recognized that logistics isn't glamorous, but it's what separates thriving civilizations from collapsed ones. For modern survivalists and preparedness-minded individuals, Rome's bread logistics offers a masterclass. Diversify your sources, understand preservation deeply, build storage that works with nature rather than against it, and never take your supply lines for granted. The empire that conquered the known world ultimately depended not on legions, but on the unglamorous miracle of getting grain from field to table, day after day, year after year. If this journey through Rome's forgotten Fieldcraft inspired you, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles, share this with fellow history enthusiasts, and anyone who understands that survival skills transcend time. The past has lessons for our future. We just need to listen.